Good morning, class. We are going to learn light and shadows today for your primary science classes. On the side, you can see the textbook pages, the workbook pages, and the homework pages. Please go through the textbook pages and complete your homework after the lesson. Now, before talking about light and shadows, you can remember all the lessons that you have had in the past in school about light and shadow. We will go deeper in this lesson. Now, what is light? Light is the brightness that comes from the sun, fire, etc. There are different sources of light. We call it sources of light. Light is the brightness that comes from the sun, fire, etc. So, whatever the source that brings light, we call it a light source. The lamp is a light source, sun is a light source, TV is a light source, candle is a light source, torch is a light source. So these are light sources. And there are different kinds of light sources also, such as fireflies, glowworm. These are also light sources. So what does a light source mean? This is a light source. What does a light source mean? Any element that brings brightness. Okay, light means the brightness that comes from the sun, fire, etc. And we know the light sources as well. We have learned this before. Now, what about a mirror? Is mirror a light source? No, mirror is not a light source. It reflects light. There is something called reflection. Light is reflected by the mirror. And what is this? The moon. The moon also reflects the light. The moon is not a light source. Moon does not generate brightness on its own. Moon just reflects light. Let's understand this further. How does the moon reflect light? The light rays from the sun come and hit the moon and they get reflected into the earth. So we see the moon as a bright object, but moon is not a light source. It reflects light. Now, why do these kind of shadows get formed? And how does reflection happen? So before we learn about shadows, we will learn there are three types of materials: transparent, translucent, and opaque. Once again, transparent, translucent, and opaque. Transparent materials let light pass through them in straight lines. Transparent materials let light pass through them. Examples are glass, crystal, and baggies. Translucent materials let some light pass through them, like tissue paper, wax paper, frosted glass, white paper. And opaque materials do not let any light pass through them. Opaque materials do not let any light pass through them, such as wood, cardboard, black paper. Right. Once again, what are the three materials? Transparent, translucent, and opaque. Transparent materials do not, transparent materials let light pass through them. Light always passes in straight lines. Light travel in straight lines, and transparent materials let light pass through them in straight lines. Translucent materials let only some light pass through them. Opaque materials do not let any light pass through them, not at all, right? So, characteristics of light. As we learned before, light travels in a straight line. Light can be reflected, like in the case of moon. Light can be bent, refracted. Light can be bent, refracted, right? Characteristics of light. There are three main characteristics. One, light travels in a straight line. Two, light can be refracted. Three, light can be, sorry, two, light of light. Light travels in straight lines, light can be reflected, and light can be bent, refracted. So these are the characteristics of three main characteristics of light. Light can be traveling in straight lines, light can be reflected, like in the case of moon, light can be bent, if not refracted. So now let's see how a shadow is being made. A shadow is made when an object blocks light. Now you know what kind of objects block light. Shall we go and see what kind of objects block light? Opaque materials block light. Wood, cardboard, black paper. Materials that do not let pass through them block light. When materials like this block light, the light can't, because light travels in straight lines, light can't go passing this person into the screen. This man is blocking light, so a shadow is formed. See, light travels in straight lines, so if it is blocked, there must be a shadow being formed. Right? Now you can see the shadow. This is the man. The object must be opaque or translucent to make a shadow. What are the three objects? Three kinds of objects we knew. Transparent, translucent, opaque. Transparent means transparent materials let light pass through. Translucent, only some. Opaque, not at all. So such opaque materials like this block light, so a shadow can't be formed. So opaque materials, translucent materials make shadows because light can't pass through them. See, this is a transparent window. This is made of glass. This doesn't block light, so the light can pass through it and come into the house. But the tree is translucent, some places, and opaque. The tree is opaque, so the light can't pass through it and a shadow is formed. Shadows made by sun. Now, early morning, the sun is low in the sky and it casts a long shadow in the early mornings. Now, you can do this exercise at home. Go and see, stand in the sun and see if the shadow made in the morning sun is longer than the shadow that is made in the noon. Let's see the next one. Midday. The sun is above the tree and casts a short shadow. Next one. In the evening, the sun is low in the sky and casts a longer shadow. Now, this is in your textbook. Go read your textbooks and try to understand. If an object is moved closer to the light source, the shadow gets bigger. If an object is moved closer to the light source, the shadow gets bigger. If an object is moved further away from the light source, the shadow gets smaller. You can try this at home. Now, how shall we try this at home? First one, let's do an experiment, making a shadow. Experiment aim is to find the best material to cast a shadow. Things you need: transparent plastic, tissue paper, white paper, black paper, and torch or a flashlight. Procedure is: draw the shapes onto one piece transparent plastic and two pieces of paper, tissue paper, black paper, with the similar shape and size. Put the cutout shapes one by one under the light. Shine a strong light onto the white surface. Now, which object produces darkest shadow? Can you guess? The opaque materials should. So the opaque materials here are black paper. Transparent plastic is, of course, it's like glass. Tissue paper and white paper are translucent materials. So the darkest shadow should be made by the black paper. So let's see if that is how it has happened. We will write down results. Plastic, what kind of a shadow did it make? Tissue, black paper.